Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. No Tactica Imperialis this week, they're busy with the gun drone. You know, it happens, kids gotta come first, haven't they, so we don't begrudge them for that, but don't worry, I'm not alone this week, for joining me as my special guest and making their Podcastus debut, it's Jordan Sorcery.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, thank you for coming on.
Sure, thanks for having me, I'm looking forward to this.
You're welcome. Now, for those listeners who may not be familiar with your work, would you like to give us a brief introduction into what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a YouTuber. I maybe self-aggrandizingly call myself a Warhammer historian, but essentially what I try and do across all my platforms is look into the history of Games Workshop and Warhammer, so really digging into the real-world background. So how did things get made? When did they get made? Sort of what's the relationship between certain creative choices and business decisions, all of that kind of stuff, right the way back to the beginning of Games Workshop.
A very noble goal indeed. I have to ask your opinion on the Games Workshop wiki, because I'm sure Wib's spoken to you about that at some point, and how bloody inaccurate it is, how it got pretty much everything wrong, because it seemed like every single article was AI generated or something stupid like that.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't know if
it's a tough one, isn't it, with fan wikis? I think generally they can be really helpful to sort of, as a starting point, maybe. I would never take anything from a lot of those, like any wiki, like I wouldn't take it as fact, essentially. It's normally a starting point for going off in a particular direction, and a lot of the better quality fan wikis, like the Lexicanum, for instance, they've started.
The ones that cite their sources.
Yeah, exactly. Citing source is so important. Like just being able to say, listen, this is referenced in this, that, and the other. And they're not exhaustive, and we should never take those as like the end point either. But they're always a good place to start. The Games Workshop wiki specifically, I don't use at all because it's just there's too many holes and too much nonsense floating about.
Yeah. Again, like I said, Wib told us about it, and he was just like, "No, that game came out after. No, it's all wrong."
Yeah,
he kind of like an aneurysm, essentially.
Oh, I can believe it. Yeah, it's because when you read it, it's like just a bizarre sort of Swiss cheese stories. It's like when you get, if you meet up with a mate and they're telling you a story they heard from someone who was in a store 20 years ago, and it just so many facts are wrong. And the problem with not just that the Games Workshop wiki, but other stuff online, is a lot of it can sound quite plausible on first read. If you're not fully paying attention, it was released then and this happened and that person was involved. Normally you're like, yeah, okay, that broadly makes sense. I've heard those names before. It's only when you drill into it or take a proper look at it and you go, well, these facts are just not facts at all.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose in a way it's kind of comforting that it's not just the lore side of things where people are taking fanon as canon kind of thing,
Yeah. Oh, completely. And some of it's understandable because, especially with Games Workshop releases over the years, GW hasn't done the best job of like archiving the dates of things. So when people joined the design studio, when people left, what projects they worked on, when products were released or changed and updated, that even to modern times can be pretty tricky to track. Maybe they've got some of that in-house, but publicly, it can be really hard to work out when stuff happened, like very specifically. You tend to have to go with when was it advertised in White Dwarf, or what did they say about it publicly in a press release or a statement or an announcement. And a lot of that stuff is kind of for the sales side of things, not for the historical side of things. So you have to draw a lot of conclusions and try and match things up yourself.
Yeah, I get that, yeah. Right, so in the news this week, still not too much. It's still reading from the post-Christmas lull of things, but there was a big reveal, the Warhammer Preview 2026 live preview. I keep saying preview, it's a bit redundant at this point, but yes. So we may as well start off as the way the article itself starts off, with brand new Red Corsairs.
Sure, yeah.
Which I don't think anyone was expecting, to be honest. Well, they probably were a little bit after they revealed the new Huron Blackheart, but I don't think they were expecting it quite so much. If I can actually get this bloody website to load, why is it lagging so much? God damn it. Right, okay, thank you, there we go. Right, so the Masters of the Maelstrom, they've finally been revealed, every single one of them, which includes, obviously, Huron and Garen, which were mentioned last episode. But we've also got Catar the former headsman of the Executioners, Garland's Soul Eater, a sorcerer formerly of the Mantis Warriors. We've also got a Tolarian dog soldier, which was, I think, the biggest surprise.
Sure. Yeah, I was very surprised at that. Very cool, though. Really nice miniature as well.
It is. And also, I was kind of surprised that little dog thing is a Bargacy. I was like, I expected a Bargacy to be a bit bigger.
Yeah, although they did say that was like a very immature one, right? It's like a baby, essentially. And this is what they look like when they're just born before they go off to become extremely scary.
Yeah. But it's still a little bit like, huh. I
suppose it's very dog-like, right? It's a very traditional dog-looking creature.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's just like, it's a pit bull terrier with opposable thumbs.
Sure, yeah. Although it's got quite, like, human, like, back legs. They're quite, like, humanoid, those ones.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, now you point out, I can't unsee it now.
But like
what
I say,
it's a furry.
Yeah,
two furries.
Well, I suppose, yeah. But I think I do like it as a model, and I like that it is like a hunting dog for the Torellian bounty hunter.
Dog soldier.
I think it's just a very cool idea, like as a setup for two miniatures.
In a way, it kind of also ties back to the Huron Blackheart novel, because there was a scene in that where he had like a band of Tolarian mercenaries like pledging themselves to him, and then he insulted them, and they ended up having to kill them all.
Right.
So
right, yeah. So I've not read the book, but I've heard about that, and that so it's quite cool that there is a sort of narrative element to it. But I really like the idea that. So I'm a huge fan. I play Tau, and one of the things that I really like about Tau is the sort of collection of Xenos forces together, like just going around the universe and gathering up lots of different alien races to fight on one side. So I really like these squads where there's a bit of character and there is just a random Xenos that's been brought in because they're a specialist in one particular thing, and making use of that specialist skill feels very like pragmatic and quite cool.
I agree, yeah. But yeah, it's not just going to be the characters for the Red Corsairs, as we're also getting a full Red Corsair kit as well for the regular Red Corsair Marines, which I think was genuinely the biggest surprise of this, because like people were expecting like maybe as an upgrade sprue, but these are being described as a whole new kit.
Right.
So that was surprising. It's like, oh, we're actually getting like brand new Chaos Space Marines, which aren't technically Chaos Space Marines in a way, being more renegade, as it were. But yeah, it's nice to actually see, something other than the Traitor Legions getting some love for a change.
Sure, yeah, and I like the detail on a lot of these models as well. So it's not just that you're getting a very cool new kit. There's also lots that you can do with them and borrow for other sets, I think, as well. You can do a lot of converting with this, guys. Oh,
definitely. And they also go very well with the new Reaver Captain as well.
Yeah, I like the detail, and I like the... So I'm a big fan of the cloaks, essentially. I think that they just look very cool.
It's like the combination of the cloak and like the fur pelts, it just makes him look like, like a Chaos Lord from Warhammer Fantasy just stepped into 40k in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, and obviously, and we may well get onto it later, but like the Chaos Marauders that are coming out for the old world, like there is some shared DNA, which is really nice.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mentioned about upgrade kits earlier. We actually are also getting a Red Corsair upgrade kit as well. So we're getting both a new kit and an upgrade sprue. So we're getting double Red Corsair goodness.
Yeah, it's nice to see. And it's always nice to see a nice set of decals as well that you can make use of.
Though, looking at the ammo belts, I'm pretty sure it's not how ammo belts work. Because with the heads attached, it's like... That's not how it works. Like, is he manually reloading individual bolt shells, or?
Yeah, I mean, but they. What would they be? They're not going to be any kind of grenade, are they? They probably are supposed to be bolter shells.
Yeah, it's like I don't think that's how it works. But, rule of cool and all that. Rule of cool.
Yeah.
We're also getting a army box set as well with these, which includes also some Chaos Space Marines, some Terminators, and also some Traitor Guardsmen as well. So hopefully, down the line, this might lead to a full-blown, Lost and the Damned army. I hope, because Lost and the Damned, I think, is criminally underrepresented on tabletop. Let's be honest. Yeah, I mean, I know you could probably just say, just use Imperial Guard rules, just, convert them. It's like, yeah, you could, but you'd like to have some rules. I may have some squads led by like a single Chaos Space Marine character kind of thing. Kind of like how in Dawn of War, you have the Chaos Cultists and you can actually give them like a Chaos Space Marine champion to lead them kind of thing.
Right, sure. Yeah, I mean, I really like these models. And I think, because going back to Blackstone Fortress had a load in as well, didn't it? And your Traitor Ogryn and stuff like that. I think they're lovely models and they make for great squads.
Absolutely. We're also getting brand new Eldari Corsairs, which I think these were actually one of the ones that were leaked a little while back as well, along with a brand new Prince Iriel. Always nice to see that an old character model finally getting updated. Even if he does look like he's got, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual disc on his arm, while simultaneously doing John Cena's You Can't See Me. Actually, look at her face. If you shorten his hair, he actually looks a bit more like John Cena as well, in a way.
I mean, this is a harsh critique of this model. I think I really like it. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Eldar. I think that they're.
I wasn't complaining about him with a dual disc. I'm just saying that shield does look a bit like a dual disc from Yu-Gi-Oh. Let's be honest, it does.
But I like the stance of this model, and I think it's a great centerpiece. It's a really nice character model to have at the center of your army. And yeah, you're getting a classic character with a lovely updated miniature is always nice to see.
Now, there's one model that was revealed which I am very happy about, and it's the brand new Seer model, Karseth. And I appreciate the fact that the helmet is literally just a callback to like the original Farseer model, right? With the big bug eyes and the big chin. Yeah,
and there's because it's kind of like very bulbous and very alien, like it is a real Xenos look, and it's quite. It reminds me of like in Rogue Trader, like almost the version of Eldar that are a bit more like insectoid at times. This kind of has like a literally a fly head, the eyes and the snout and all that sort of stuff. It's great.
Yeah, it's literally a direct callback to the original Farseer model, and I love it for it. Yeah, with how in a way like goofy it looks, but in a good way, like the good kind of goofy with the big bug eyes.
Yeah,
that's
I
not
think
a complaint.
You're right.
That's a compliment, not a critique.
Yes, completely. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think this is something we've been seeing a fair bit in recent times, I would say, where there are these nice little nods. And I assume they're on purpose, but like lots of nice little nods to classic miniatures and that heritage and that legacy, just tying things back to like earlier interpretations, but then doing it with modern technologies, modern scale, with modern stances and like the dynamism that you can do with miniatures now. I'm a big fan of that kind of, just touching on a bit of history, nodding to it, and then making it a part of the modern game.
Yeah. I assume you saw when they did the new Primaris Blood Angels captains, and there was like one that was based on like the original proto Tycho model from like Rogue Trader.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. yeah, because it's a nice way to connect, like where because the game's come so far from the early days, but it's a lovely way to connect like a slightly more tangible relationship between where it is now and just being able to say, look, you used to love this, or you may have seen this earlier thing. Here it is again, but we've made it modern. We've honored the original, but we've brought something new to it as well.
Yeah. And speaking of modern, finally, after God knows how long, well, since 1997, in fact, the Viper is finally getting a new model. We no longer have to use the second edition model, though in fairness, the second edition model still holds up. That's how good it was. But with this version, I appreciate the fact that it's much more streamlined, much more aerodynamic, rather than just having a big turret sitting on the top of it. It actually looks like, it's deliberately integrated now.
Yeah, it looks lovely. I think, and they've done a really nice job with it. Again, updating something whilst like retaining the feel of an older model. Incredible that it has taken this long. There's a few factions in like across 40k and the other ranges as well that have still got the odd miniature that dates back quite far. Eldar have taken a long time to get all of their stuff updated, so it is lovely to see this finally.
Yeah, I mean, it literally took them 30 years to get new warp spiders.
Right. Yeah, incredible. And
Yeah.
But you were right though, that like originals of those, they do still hold up. Like you genuinely could still field them and they do look good. But there's so many new options that you can bring with a new kit. So it's great to see.
And there's also the issue with scale creep as well, because everything's been getting slightly bigger.
Yes.
And then we compare the old ones, it's going to be much smaller, very tiny spiders. But yes, the new Viper can also be built as a Starfang, which is like another little fast attack vehicle for the Corsairs. Yeah, and these Corsairs are having some really nice models as well, because you've also got the, what are they called? The Sky Reavers, which are like their little jump pack troops. They look a bit like, if Drukhari Scourges were built for close combat rather than for, long range firepower, in a sense, but also crossed with a swooping hawk. It's the helmet. It reminds me a lot of a Drukhari, the helmet does.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I like these guys though, and because there's less emphasis, and maybe it's just the name, but because there's less emphasis on the sort of bird like aesthetics of the swooping hawks, like these guys feel a lot more like there's kind of almost a fairy feel to these guys. This kind of like folkloric vibe that I really like.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, these will all be released in a big battle force, which is also going to have the 10 existing Corsair Void Scarred, which were from Kill Team, if I remember correctly, which were fantastic models. So these, I'm actually really pleasantly surprised with how well these Corsair models have turned out, because previously we had, what was the last time we actually had Corsair models? It was the Forge World stuff, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm not entirely certain, to be honest, but I mean, the thing that I really like about this box is that because it's the Eldritch Raiders box and it's dating right the way back to Iriel's like first appearance, like way back in Rogue Trader, as the Eldar Pirates. So it is just this is a direct link to like proper early 40k and just making it modern. So I'm a big fan of this. I think it's cool.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. It's also appropriate that we've gotten some Chaos Pirates and some Eldari Pirates, both Corsairs, because you got, Iriel's Corsairs and the Red Corsairs, and they'll be facing off against one another in a new campaign called Maelstrom, Into the Maelstrom, which is kind of like this other version of the 500 Worlds campaign that was, had Titus in it. This version is going to be focusing on pirates versus pirates, and who doesn't love pirates? Everyone loves pirates, except ninjas. That's an old joke, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is cool. I think because I quite like the idea of some of the fringes of the 40k universe being more like the high seas, and there's less the further away you go from the Imperium and the Astronomicon and like the central Space Marine held areas, it does become more like the sort of like pirate kind of stuff where it is lawless bands going up against each other and raiders and just like thieves and scumbags. That's the kind of thing that I really like. It adds a lot to the universe to me to be able to go off and just play those kinds of games.
A space Wild West, if you will.
Yeah, kind of. It absolutely has that feel. It's one of the reasons, I know I mentioned it before, but like Blackstone Fortress, I think was really cool in that was set
I love
up.
Blackstone Fortress.
Yeah, isn't it? It's a great game, but the lore of that being like, okay, this is the 40k's equivalent of Tortuga from like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like that's cool. It's a really neat idea to have this sort of Sartosa little like collection of random outlaws and pirates who will all get together and sell stuff to each other and then go off and raid one another. All from
different species as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, it's a great opportunity. I mean, as a role player as well, those kinds of settings offer a lot of opportunity to, like, do different interesting things. And I know as a war game, you can't always get into that. But I think this is a neat backdrop to bring in a sort of campaign around those smaller skirmishing outlaw forces, or Xenos forces in this case.
Because one thing I did like in the Blackstone Fortress annual that Games Workshop released a while back, a few years back at this point rather, but they also added rules for new characters rather than just the ones you get from the box set. So you can play as an Ogrin or a Bullgrin. You can play as an Orc freebooter as well, and it's just imagine the narrative you have to come up with to explain how an Eldari Ranger, an Orc freebooter, and a Man of Iron all got together, exploring a fortress. I'd be that'd be fun.
It is fun.
Just seeing them all try and work together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always the sort of, the alliance of convenience, right? Because you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have to team up with the only other sort of sentient thing that's not trying to kill you in this immediate moment. And that might be a Man of Iron who is also there for his own reasons. And that's just a very cool setup.
Absolutely, yeah. We have some Age of Sigmar stuff as well. How familiar are you with Age of Sigmar? Because I know jack shit about it. That's normally Neve's wheelhouse rather than mine.
Sure. Well, yeah. So I stay abreast of it. I play. I've got some Cities of Sigmar. I used to play a Tzeentch force for Age of Sigmar, but I don't play loads of it, and I'm not following super deep the sort of the lore that's continuing. I have observed, because obviously this is a big release for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, right? Which I think is a very cool idea. I love the idea of the constructed skeleton forces. Just conceptually, I think it's neat. But I've not been following their actual story, so I don't know how well it kind of fits in with where things are for them now.
Fair enough, but I do want to point out the some of these new models, like the Liege Cavalos on Chariot and the Liege Mortex, they look fantastic. I also appreciate the fact that they have something that you don't really see too commonly in Warhammer, and that's a very, very Japanese aesthetic. I know some people will say the Tau, but these guys look like full-blown shogun and samurai, aesthetically.
Yeah, I can see
with
that.
that armor and that.
Yeah, I can see elements of that for sure.
And it's just something you just don't see very commonly in Warhammer in general. I mean, I know you see, the Chinese influence with the Cathay and stuff and, stuff like that, but it's very rare you see something very intrinsically Japanese aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there probably is some Chinese. I mean, I'm not an expert in the sort of armors and the design, the aesthetic designs of ancient Eastern cultures, but I do think there might be some Chinese elements in here as well, in some of the ornamentation perhaps, and some of the choices around the design. So there's definitely stuff here that probably would bear a really interesting deep dive into where some of these design choices are coming from.
Yeah, because I'm just going to pop a picture in the chat of some Shogun armor, and when you compare it, you can see it's particularly in the helm. I feel you can see the inspiration. I feel. Yeah,
I can see what you're going for. Yeah.
The looks cool though. Looks badass.
One of the things that I think is really cool. So there's a load of archers that have come out for this as well.
Yes,
and I do quite like the idea that they only have one eye because they're using that for aiming, and because they've got a what it says, a row of vertical eyes on the other side. So they're constructing their skeletal, their skulls and their eyes to optimize for ranged combat, which I think is a really interesting, that's exactly what you would want out of a sorcerously created army where you would be optimizing for these different things. You don't have to just build a human or a traditional humanoid skeleton. And then, of course, one of the miniatures has got a little skeleton pigeon, carrier pigeon with it, which is very cool.
Yes. I was going to make a joke saying about how they got Deadeye aim. Get it?
Okay.
Sorry, terrible joke, I know. But we've also got the Mortis Reapers as well, which are these little assassin guys, and I have to say, this one on the right, I'm putting on screen.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or does that look like Zeratul from StarCraft?
That is exactly what I was going to say to you. Yeah, 100% he does. Yeah, because he went in the cinematic when he's in the ancient tomb, right?
Yeah.
and he's running around and he's jumping about. Absolutely, he's got the same kind of like the physical dynamism of Zeratul, but he's also, because he's covering his lower half of his face with his like cape and his cloak. It really does remind of him.
Yeah, and also the glowing eyes and the bald head as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of StarCraft, a very slight tangent, but I have to say, because obviously StarCraft's actually got its own tabletop game coming out shortly, and I have to say, the Protoss models in that actually look really nice. I have to say, they do look nice.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this game. I'm curious to see how it goes, because StarCraft is such a cool as a PC game, it's a great game, and I've enjoyed playing a lot of that back in the day. But it is a cool IP as well. Like the world that they built, although it bears similarities to 40k, obviously, the direction they took it, the story they told with a lot of it was really cool. So I'd be fascinated to see how this game plays and if it does bring it to life in a fun way.
Yeah, though I have to say the ending of StarCraft 2 where Kerrigan becomes his own Argus, like that's a bit weird.
Yeah,
like that,
Heart of the Swarm, I thought was, although it had an incredible cinematic, I thought it was just a terrible, like the story was terrible. I didn't get on board with that. They lost me with it.
At least we have Frank Welker in it though.
Right.
He was the ancient Zerg in that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I like Frank Welker just because it's Megatron. It's Megatron playing a Zerg.
Right.
Essentially.
It's okay.
But yes, to finish off with the OCR, we also got a new army book coming out, or battle tome rather, and a couple of spearheads and battle forces, which would be cool. And you mentioned Tzeentch earlier. Well, there's going to be a new Tzeentch sorcerer coming out for Age of Sigmar as well. The Fate Master.
Yes, I like this. I think this is a really cool model. Always a fan of Tzeentch, and just like having more options for sorcerers and various other ne'er-do-wells for a Tzeentch force is always good.
And they're also being accompanied by Argent Shards, which are like these little terrain piece unit combo things. I don't know how they work in Age of Sigmar. Again, this is Neve's wheelhouse, not mine. So I'm very, very ignorant, I will admit.
I quite like these. Like conceptually, I think these are really cool. I think it's great to have like terrain that is, I've long been a fan of the of the sort of I forget what the term is, that you have your own different terrain piece for each different army in Age of Sigmar. But being able to bring that, I think, is cool, and I like these, and I think they look cool. My only, they may be a bit too, and this is going to sound ridiculous as a Tzeentch player, but I think they're maybe a bit too dramatic. Maybe they're a bit too much.
I can see where you're coming from, yeah. I like how chaotic they are, for lack of a better term. I find them thematically appropriate, but I can see why they might be considered a bit over-designed.
Yeah, over-designed might be the right term. Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, Tzeentch it's not just the followers of Tzeentch who are getting new models, we're also getting some new stuff for the Lumineth Realm Lords, such as the Venari Lord Regent, who is basically like your upgraded High Elf type commander, essentially. I know the Lumineth are basically just, the Age of Sigmar High Elves, in a sense, aren't they? They fill the same niche.
Yeah,
I'd geomancery.
So. Yeah. Yeah, and I quite like this model, although very interesting that this model would come out at the same time as Prince Iriel, or at least be announced, because there's a lot of overlap in terms of the design between the two. Yeah, whether that's the stance or the back banners and all sorts.
Similarities in the whole elven aesthetic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is to be expected, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Given they share a lot of the same sort of design route. But yeah, this model in particular, it does strike me as like if you were just doing like in comic books and stuff like that. I think they even did it in Hammer and Bolter or Warhammer Monthly at one point, when you like would have characters turn up in a different franchise. They'd sort of cross over, whether that's some sort of portal or just an alternate universe. But they, when they did, it was in Warhammer Monthly, I think, and they had a load of characters from 40k in their Warhammer Fantasy equivalents.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
right, and then they went the other way as well.
Yeah, the Blood Angels as vampires, literal vampires. That
kind of stuff. Exactly that. And this could be Prince
and
Iriel.
The Witch Hunter Hellbrand Grim was an Inquisitor. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Iriel just turns up in the Age of Sigmar, and this is their model.
Yeah, that was cool. But we're not done with elves, as in Blood Bowl, speaking of actual high elves this time, we're getting a high elf team called the Calador Dragons. And they are Blood Bowl minis. I would say that as far as Blood Bowl minis are concerned, these are the weaker ones, I feel, because Blood Bowl tends to have some really cool minis, but these ones seem a bit... I'm not sold on these, personally. They seem a bit too leggy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see.
I know they're kind of meant to be, considering them, elves are meant to be like, tall and lanky, aren't they? So, and graceful and all that, but they seem a bit too spindly for my tastes.
So that's not a problem for me, but I have the same general opinion, and I think that for me is just that it comes from. So I kind of think they have the right sort of proportions. Maybe their knees are emphasized maybe a bit much, but that might be the paint job. They do look kind of elegant to me, but I think they just, they're a little bit boring, which, you might be like, well, that's high elves. But also, as you say, Blood Bowl, there's so many fun models. There's such an opportunity for like different stances and different kind of, you can find other ways to show the character of a faction and through the miniatures and through their stances. Whereas here, they're kind of, everyone's got the same kind of stances. There's a lot of repeated sort of elements, and it just doesn't feel like this is a team of individuals. They all just look the same. From a distance, yes, there's some different ornamentation on the armor, different head pieces and stuff, but they all kind of look the same, even though they're not the same. Does that make sense?
I tell you what it reminds me of. Do you remember when, like, back in the day, when you get, like, your starter box set for a game, and the models inside were just basically variations of the same 2 or 3 molds?
Right, yes.
Like, with the original Blood Bowl, you had, like, all the Orc linemen having the same pose, and you had the Orc Blitzers in the same pose, and you had the Black Orcs in the same pose. That's what it reminds me of, because they're so similar, even though they are different.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And whilst any individual model here is perfectly good, together as a team, it doesn't look like an exciting team. Like, I'd be really surprised if anyone's looking at this box and going, wow, that's finally, look at how amazing and dynamic these guys look. They might go, yeah, they look like a solid, they represent high elves, thank you very much. But I'd be very surprised if there's like a sort of an excitement about something new with this team. It just kind of feels like it's checking a box almost.
Yeah. Because I found a picture of some of the OG or the 3rd edition Black Orc blockers, and I'll put it on screen. You see what I mean? It reminds me a bit like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. And that was, because you would just get the same model, even though there might be more than one on the sprue, it would be the same model recreated multiple times to save on costs, right? But that's not where Games Workshop is now, so there's a lot more. There's no excuse, I suppose, for these to all be so similar.
But at the same time, I suppose in a way, there's like, how many variations can you do of man running?
Yeah, I suppose, but a lot of the other teams have sort of managed to have a bit more. Yeah.
I think with some of them as well, with like some teams, you also have more variety in like what's actually there. Like with the Lizardmen, for example, you got, the Skinks and the Saurus. So you got 2 drastically different visual styles rather than just flavor of elf, in a sense. With the dwarves, you got like some regular dwarves, and you got some dwarves with massive fuck off mohawks, bad tempers. I don't want to come across as like an elf hater, because I think it's kind of cringe to be like, oh, I hate elves, that kind of thing. I think it's a bit cringe, personally, because like, yes, the joke's been done to death. Kind of like angry Marines, that's a dead joke. Just let it die, please. But there's just something about these I find a bit boring. I mean, the white lions are kind of cool with their claws. I think they're kind of cool, but aside from that.
Yeah, I'd agree. And so I love elves. I think they're awesome, and I love like Eldari as well. I think that that's really cool. I think they get a bad rap a lot of the time, But I think what's kind of a common theme is that, like you say about dwarfs, for example, that it feels like sculptors and artists are kind of given more leeway to just be imaginative and to sort of put more character into the dwarf models and the designs, because they are like, it's kind of the whole point of those factions is that they're more individualistic, I guess, and there's sort of more differences amongst dwarven society compared to the elves, who are all on the same page. But I actually think that we know from the lore that they're not all the same. Every elf is not the same. They don't think the same. They don't act the same. They have loads of internal division as well. So there should be a lot more opportunity to like imbue these models with lots of different character as well. Yeah. Same with Eldar. I don't think we see enough distinction in Eldari sometimes. And I think it's because the sort of basic view is that, they're all very similar because they're elves. But I think that I personally think that misses an opportunity to kind of go, they are broadly more similar than other factions, but they're also pretty distinct amongst themselves.
Yeah. In other news, we're also been shown a trailer for a brand new animation called Penitence, which pits the Sisters of Battle against snakebite orcs. And we all love snakebites because they're so primitive and backwards. I love them. Just like, old rustic orcs. Right, we're going to go in here and we're going to go ride our pigs. Even though they're probably in retcon to boar squigs now. But no, just give them the pigs. It's funnier. But yeah, I don't know if you've actually seen the trailer at all.
Yeah, I did watch the trailer. I thought it looked quite cool. I quite liked... So this is like, the Sisters of Battle are going to be delivering... they're delivering a relic to a monastery world or somewhere special, a sort of pilgrimage thing. And their ship goes down, basically. But I quite liked there's just like a lot of panic and fear as the ship is going down. The relic's about to get loose. Everything feels like it's about to go wrong. And then actually one of the sisters just grabs it and is just super calm and super ready for action. It did seem very cool, like she was totally in charge. And the orcs aren't going to know what's about to hit them, basically.
And also, moving on to Horus Heresy, we've got some brand new Custodes.
Yeah, because I think there's some really nice models here. Now I'm gonna have to. So I don't follow Horus Heresy that closely, and one of the reasons I'm just not that interested in most of the factions, whilst I think that these are really nice Custodes models, most of these, I'm also I just generally am not a big fan of the Custodes, like having so many models.
Yeah, I can understand that. They do get the lion's shell, or the eagle shell, as it were.
Well, I think some of it. So in the fiction, it feels like they just shouldn't be as present. I mean, the same goes for Space Marines, really, for me. But like, I always see Space Marines are the absolute elite. So I've always enjoyed my 40k with like hardly any of them about. Like, I always think it's cooler when there's only like a squad, a tactical squad, and that's all it takes to do anything because they're so good and there's hardly any of them. And Custodes are like that times 1,000. There's even less of them. So for me, entire armies are not as exciting as just like, what if you had an army that only had one in it, and the rest of the army is just like drone, Imperial Guardsmen or something like that. And like one Custodes is like awesome because they're so awesome. As soon as it's kind of like, you mentioned ninjas before. In a movie, when there is one ninja, that ninja is amazing, absolutely incredible, very hard to beat. In a movie, when there's 100 ninjas, they are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
And that's the Custodes thing for me. When there's loads of them, they're just not, they don't feel as strong. They don't feel as cool and unique as I feel like they should be.
Oh, I get what you mean, yeah. One thing that struck me about these models, the ones with the Guardian Spears, my first thought was, where have the triggers gone? Because the original models had like triggers, like trigger levers on the hilts of the spear. Like the brakes of a bike.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question, actually, because Yeah, are they using their minds? Because it really isn't a trigger.
I heard some people say that they're like twist fire now, which makes sense. Like, because obviously, like, you know, if you're actually using a spear, you want to have it, like, you know, as little on the actual haft as possible for, you know, so you can move your hands up and down its length and stuff. But when you compare it to like the older ones, I don't know. I just miss the added bulk that it adds, because they look very, very skinny now. The spears, they look a bit disproportionate with the gun and the blade on top. It looks a bit disproportionate in my eyes.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, actually, because I think it's always going to be a tough sell to be like, this is a spear with a bolt gun on it. Like, it's so absurd. It just is, you know, and sometimes that can be exactly what you want, but it's so ridiculous that, yeah, the extra, like, heft of the trigger and the, like, handle on lower down does make it feel more like a weapon that you could theoretically actually hold and use. Whereas the version on the new models is kind of like a stick that also happens to have an unwieldy bolter and blade just like welded onto the end of it. It doesn't look as like organically a weapon anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, and I don't want to give the impression though that like I don't think the models are really nice. Like, these are really beautifully sculpted model. The extreme ornamentation is really cool. Like, you know, the armor just looks great. So this is a great set of models. I just prefer it when there's fewer of them about.
And added heft on the spear.
And they've got heftier spears, yeah.
But yes, we've also getting I'll try and pronounce the name right. The Caladius Annihilator Grav Tank as well. So they got those as well. I keep saying as well. I need to stop repeating myself. God damn it. But yeah, nice new tank. And we're also getting a brand new version of the Contemptor Dreadnoughts as well. One with the spear and one with the sword and shield. Also looking very nice. It's nice that we're actually getting these in plastic rather than resin as well.
Yes, I think that's great. I think I think the tanks are really nice. I've always really liked the Custodes tanks. I think they're a really nice design language to them, like the engines and stuff. I think just look really good. Not as big a fan personally of the dreadnoughts though. I don't know. Their proportions just don't work for me personally, I would say.
Mm. That's fair enough. I think it's just one of the features of the Contemptor chassis, as it were, because they tend to be much lankier compared to, like, you know, the Boxer Castaferum dreadnought.
Yeah, exactly that. That's all it is. It's just that particular chassis is not it's just not a design that I enjoy. Like, that lankier dreadnought just doesn't work for me.
Do you know what? I reckon these would make a great basis to convert a Grey Knight Dread Knight from.
Okay.
Because, you know, the baby carrier. Because the baby carrier looks shit. Because it's a fucking baby carrier. It's meant to be like in the name, it's a Dread Knight. You know, the sword and shield, Dreadnought, use that as a basis to convert one. It's like, it'll probably look better. You have an actual knight, essentially.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
And we're also getting a brand new shield captain as well, who is also equally decked out in ornamentation. There is a bare-headed option as well. The paint job on the bare head's a little bit funky, in my opinion, but again, that's probably just the paint job rather than the sculpt itself, because let's be honest, like, when it comes to painting bare faces, Games Workshop doesn't exactly have the best track record at times on the heavy metal team. No offense, guys, but I understand that painting faces is not easy. Believe me, I know. That's why every model I have has got a fucking helmet on. Because I can't paint faces to save my life, especially eyes.
Yeah, I cannot come down the mountain on anyone's paint jobs.
But I love the cloak.
Yeah,
I love the cloak on this.
Yeah, the sculpt on the cloak is gorgeous, actually. Like and as you would expect, it's proper like Roman, just excess. There's like a real look of like luxury and just the
bougie bastards.
It speaks to. Yeah, it's great. It really is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall these models have actually turned out pretty decent overall. Again, my main critique is the fact that the spears look way too skinny now That's my main critique.
Yeah, I mean, I've not really I don't think I even thought of that until you said it, but I do agree with it. But like, I think all of these models, with the exception of the Dreadnought, I think all of these models look very nice and like a really nice set of minis. I would go so far, like if I was a Stormcast player, I would absolutely be stealing these to use as Stormcast Eternals.
Oh yeah. And speaking of stealing things, it looks like the Custodes actually stole from the Blood Angels with the Venatari, because I'm pretty sure the Sanguinary Guard are going, where are our jump packs?
Yeah.
Considering
I like
these look more like Sanguinary Guard than the Horus Heresy Sanguinary Guard do. Because have you seen the Horus Heresy Sanguinary Guard models?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Because their art gives them, like, the wings, like, you expect, like, from their old models and stuff like that. But when you actually look at the models, like, how they officially claim to have the models look like, it's just regular jump packs. It's like, that's not Sanguinary Guard. Those are just gold-armored Blood Angels assault troops.
Yeah, although I quite like that, and I like this distinction here, because I don't think that I think the Custodes should have the more elaborate version of this kind of stuff. Like, so yes, they're just jump packs. Everyone's just got jump packs, but the Custodes are the ones who are like getting ridiculous sculpted jump packs with like proper wings and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, considering that Games Workshop has depicted them in art with the wings, it kind of is like, why haven't you given the models the wings as well? You've already shown them with wings in the pictures.
Sure. That's just propaganda, though. We're just seeing the same thing that gets shipped out to all of the Imperium worlds.
Of course.
I quite like I like the Custodes jetpacks, though, and because they really remind me of like, I don't know if you remember in the film Brazil, the Terry Gilliam film.
I've not seen that in a while. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's a moment when like he's having a dream sequence and he's basically dressed like one of these guys, like with the wings. He doesn't have the same sort of jump pack engines, but he has the same kind of armor and the same kind of wings. It's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. And more stuff for the Custodes. We're getting the Coronis Grav Carrier as well, because clearly the Custodes don't have enough stuff. Clearly.
Yeah.
As well as their own army book coming out as well, the Liber Custodes. So, yeah, that would be for, like, covering their rules and shite as well. But yes. But the Custodes are not the only things in Horus Heresy getting new models, as we're getting the Glaive Super Heavy Special Weapons Tank, which is going to be used by Loyalists and traitors alike, which Iron Warriors players are going to be very happy about, I imagine.
Yeah, a nice big tank.
Nice big tank with a nice big gun on it. And in addition, we're also getting a brand new version of the Whirlwind.
Yeah, which, perfectly fine. It looks a bit stubby, though, I would say.
Yeah, I can see what it means because of how tiny the missiles are, yeah. But at the same time, it looks more practical than, like, say, the second edition Whirlwind sculpt where all the missiles were bloody exposed on stalks. It's like,
yes.
One lucky shot, bang.
Yeah.
And speaking of Iron Warriors, there has been a bit of a tease for a whole bunch of Iron Warriors themed snippets and stuff like that, which include, I'm not going to put every single image on screen because there is a lot, but it's like a servo claw, a disintegrator, a thunder hammer, a shoulder pad, smokestacks, a huge claw, another huge claw, and a big foot. So, people are suggesting that obviously we're going to get new Warsmith because the servo arm, possibly new obliterators and new mutilators, which would be cool. And what I'm most intrigued about, the potential possibility of Perturabo in 40k. That would be cool if we actually getting a full dedicated Iron Warriors army list kind of thing. Because we had, like, the Emperor's Shun Codex, the Death Guard Codex, World Eaters, etc. If we get like an Iron Warriors Codex, that could be cool.
Sure,
like, actually focusing more on like on siege type stuff, so have like more varieties of tank accessible to them and stuff like that. Maybe some of the Horus Heresy era tanks and stuff like that. That'd be cool. Because God, seeing how bare bones the Emperor's Children Codex was, it's like there's nothing in it, essentially. Like no bikes, no raptors. It's like, what? Why have you not given them raptors? Why have they not got Havocs? Which made it even more funny when reading through the Fulgrim novel, Fulgrim the Perfect Son, and it's talking about the forces and the Emperor's Children warband assaulting this Imperial world. And I'm just sitting there going, that's not in the Codex, and that's not in the Codex, and that's not in the Codex. So can't use that. You can't reenact this on tabletop because none of it's in the Codex. It's like, oh no. Oh dear. But that's it for the reveal, but not all of the news, as the final major big piece of news is the fact that Jagatai Khan is getting an action figure.
Yeah.
And it'll probably cost you about 125 quid.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cool, though.
It does look cool. It really does. Also, but the face, it reminds me of someone, and I can't put my finger on it, but that face, it reminds me of someone very specific. Oh, God. Who are you? Who do you remind me of? I mean, I was going to say, if you get rid of the hair, you could say Walter White, but maybe not. No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing any. No one's leaping out at me specifically.
But it does seem familiar, though, doesn't it? Like, I've seen you, but I don't know who you are. It's like that one character actor in every single film from the fucking 90s. It's like, I've seen you in everything, but I don't know who the fuck you are.
I mean, do you think that this speaks to Khan, like, getting a miniature in the near future, or do you think this is just one of those things, totally unrelated?
I think it's just one of those things that are unrelated, because we're also getting some White Scar Horus Heresy Marines as well.
Ah, yeah.
And I'd say the Mark 6, I like that. That looks really nice. Not as keen on the Mark 3, though. Or was that Mark 2?
I think they've done a pretty good job across the board, really, JoyToy, to be fair. I think that most of them have looked pretty nice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Again, the only issue I have with JoyToy is just how expensive it is.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and that's coming from 40k players, so,
Yeah. Because, like, I don't know if you've seen the recent cost of the JoyToy Imperial Knight.
No, how much is that?
The one I'm looking at now is 565 quid.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, compared to, like, a Redemptor Dreadnought, that's 108.
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, that's an investment.
God, can you imagine if someone was rich enough to actually play a full game of 40k tabletop using nothing but the JoyToy figures? It'd be like, you fucking rich bastard.
Yeah, like every game is a Titan walk, but just you're actually playing Kill Team.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, one thing that Games Workshop has actually posted on Warhammer Community, they're actually starting to post excerpts from the Horus Heresy Black Books, which is nice. So they actually posted some of the Night Lord's lore from the Crusade book. No, sorry, not Crusade. This is from Book 3. Sorry, what was Book 3? Book 3 was God, which one are you? It's not Massacre. Massacre was 2. Which one were you? It was oh no, it was Crusade. This one was from. Never mind. I thought it was from an earlier. Oh no, wait. No, wait. No, yeah, I'm talking crap. No, it was book 9. My bad.
Well, that was a real journey there.
It was a real journey. A journey to fucking pointlessness.
That's very cool, though. I didn't realize they've been doing this. That's a neat thing to do.
Oh no, wait, no, I'm not making shit up, because there was another one. There was 2 of these as well, and this one was from. Okay, why are you saying that one's book 9 as well? That's not book 9 as well. Give me the fucking pages from the Black Books. There we go, Night Lords. Right, got there in the fucking end. Right, this one was from book 2, not book 3. It was book 2 Massacre.
Okay. Okay.
We got there in the end, ladies and gentlemen, and it only took 45 fucking minutes. Oh dear, I'm not with it today. I blame this new medication.
Yeah, but it's a neat it's a neat thing to do. I love making this kind of stuff available again and sharing it. It's like why the Vault for Warhammer Plus is one of the coolest things. It's just because it's nice to be able to dip into this kind of stuff.
Because I don't know if you saw the recent episode of the podcast where we had Aurelia Tempest on, and we were talking about the Holy Grail Warhammer novel Dark Hunter's Umbra Somnus, which is still available on eBay. Because I don't know, do you know how much that was going for on eBay?
No, go on, tell me.
It was going for around. Actually, I'll just send you the link, and I just want to everyone to listen to your undiluted expression and reaction. Just go look at the price and verbalize your reaction.
What? What are you talking about? That £46,000. What? Who is this for? Who is this for? It's got 69 people are watching this on eBay. Outrageous stuff. But then even like looking down not to anywhere near that level of absurdity, but people have got like the Warhammer Forged Tamarkan and Monstrous Arcanum books for like 400 quid each. And oh man, there is a real, like, the secondary market is just absurd these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just looking at the Horus Heresy Malevolence, if I can find a copy of it on eBay, which I actually can't, funnily enough. Oh wait, no, I found one. Yeah, that's going for about 500 quid. Horus Heresy Malevolence, right. 580 quid. Oh no, Book 2 Massacre, 239. Book 6, 350 quid. Inferno, £220. That's the cheapest one. And it's like, no one gives a shit about the Thousand Suns, so that's why it's so cheap, probably. Hey-oh. No, apologies to all the Thousand Suns players. Oh no, wait. Book 1, Betrayal, 78 quid. That's about as much as the book would have cost brand new, so that's actually a bargain.
Yeah, there you go. It's a steal.
That's a bargain.
I'd be very interested to understand the economics of some of this like the secondary market on this sort of stuff, because this obviously is not going to sell. No one's paying 40 grand for a book, a fiction novel. So, like, what's really going on here? Someone's put this on. Is it algorithmically generating prices? Are they just making numbers up? Is it a tax dodge? There's got to be something else to this kind of thing.
I mean, I still remember the time when I was looking to complete my my collection of the Primarch series, the Primarch novels, and someone was selling a limited edition version of the Lehman Russ novel for £5,000.
Okay, right.
And it's like that was about as much as my car,
And yeah,
back in the day.
It would be interesting to see if this kind of stuff ever actually sells, or if are they just putting a stupid price on it so that someone puts an offer in that's also stupid.
Well, in the case of Dark Hunters, the reason why that's so expensive is because there's like less than 50 of them in existence.
Right. Okay.
Because that was a book that was pulled from Games Workshop stores due to a lawsuit.
And there were really only that few sold. Is that confirmed?
Because basically they went on pre-order, and then some got shipped out to like third-party retailers and all that. But then they had to cancel all the pre-orders because Games Workshop was under a lawsuit by another author who's claiming that it was plagiarizing the works of their book, which is also called Dark Hunters.
Right. Okay.
So Games Workshop themselves never actually dispatched any of their orders, but the ones they shipped out to the third-party stockists did get out, but there wasn't that many.
Okay. So it's almost like the equivalent of a misprint or something that shouldn't have been released.
Sense, yeah.
But, I mean, that obviously does make it more valuable, but still, is it ever going to reach this kind of price point? Almost impossible, right?
Oh no! So correction, there wasn't 50. Apparently, there's only 20.
Where has that number come from though? Who has verified that number?
Apparently, it's actually come from the Black Library Reddit. So take it with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
But apparently, there's only been 20 confirmed copies known that people actually report actually having. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's it's interesting. This sort of thing is still absolutely wild that someone could be imagining that they would be pocketing this kind of amount of money for it, though. But yeah, I guess who am I to say? Maybe it's worth that much because it is so rare.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a book there's only 20 of them known, and like there's no chance of it being reprinted in any form.
Did they not reprint it under a different title or anything?
No.
That's interesting.
Because, funny enough, I don't think Paul Kearney's actually got much stuff on Black Library in general these days. If I can actually spell his name right, because I can't fucking spell it, but it's Kearney. Because the only thing I can see, a couple of short stories, a couple of Warhammer fantasy novels. Okay, so in terms of novels, we got Calgar's Siege, Calgar's Fury, and that's it. That's it.
Right.
That's all of his novels, full-length 40k novels on Black Library. There's like a Warhammer fantasy novel called Death and Dishonor, and there's a couple of short story ones like Legends of the Space Marines and There's Only War and stuff like that. But yeah, only 2 Calgar books are full-length novels on the Black Library website.
I mean, it's interesting. It's fascinating for that to have existed at all. Like Games Workshop having to pull a book because of a lawsuit based on the title. I mean, Games Workshop themselves have been on the other end of that. Like there was a series of novels that were published called Dark Future that were long after the Games Workshop's Dark Future game had been cancelled and was gone and was out of print. And GW still were like, oh, you can't use that Dark Future name. You're going to have to get rid of your novels. So I think they ended up settling and changing the name of that series. But there was like a whole load of legal stuff around that. So it's, GW sort of getting hit with the exact same thing.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things, yeah. I also find it weird, or more annoying rather, that Games Workshop got rid of all their Blood Bowl stuff off their Black Library site as well. All the Blood Bowl stuff's gone.
Well, I mean, and this is exactly the thing I was saying at the top, where it's like difficult to track the history of some stuff because it just gets removed. The legacy of it's really hard to keep track of because official sources just delete stuff. And you can't go back and you can't see when things were announced, when they were released, when they were pulled from sale. They just disappear.
Yeah, because I'm having to get a copy of the Blood Bowl anthology off of eBay just so I actually have a copy of the short story, The Skeleton Key. I don't know if you've actually read that story, but it's one that's like a game of Dungeon Bowl, and the players end up in 40k in the middle of a battle between Nids and Necrons, and then the Gene Stealer follows them back to the Blood Bowl pitch.
No, I've not read that.
Yeah. That's the only reason I bought that anthology, is just so I can have that story to hand to reference if need be, just because it's so absurd. And so, and people say like, oh, there's no connection towards fantasy and 40k. It's like, what about the time of Gene Stealer was playing Blood Bowl? Literally, you literally had a mummy meeting Necrons.
Yeah, I mean that's great.
I'm also surprised that there hasn't really been much in the way of Warhammer horror as of late either. Like, a part of me feels like I might have given up on that sub-series.
Yeah, I mean, when did they put the last one out? Because it feels like that's been quite a long time.
Oh, well, according to, if you actually look on the Warhammer horror section, if you go to, oh no, never mind, I clicked the wrong thing. Right, novels. Newest release date, that was Black-Eyed Saint. And when did that come out? If I can spell Black-Eyed Saint. That came out in 2023.
Right.
So
yeah, it's
not
interesting, isn't it?
Too long, but still, yeah, early 2023 rather.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of having these sort of separate imprints to explore different themes, different sort of genres. I'm not surprised they went for horror as the sort of first one of those. But I do think there is a world in which you absolutely could do Warhammer, Warhammer romance or Warhammer romantasy as the sort of modern genre mash is. Like, I think there's loads of opportunities for that kind of stuff. I suppose they did the Warhammer Adventures for a time, didn't they, as well, which were, sort of for younger audiences and YA almost audiences. So I still think there's plenty of genres that Warhammer could expand into that would genuinely create interesting stories.
Yeah, because they did Warhammer Crime as well, but that hasn't had a
Yes.
brand new novel since 2023 either.
Right, okay. So maybe the whole experiment has come to an end. But yeah, I think there is. I'm surprised they didn't, it's much more, as these things often are, it's much more 40k focused than any of their other settings. But I do think there's a lot of horror and crime that you could have explored in Age of Sigmar or Warhammer Fantasy.
Mm. Or even just do Necromunda stuff, because Necromunda stuff's always great.
100%. Yeah, perfect location for some Warhammer crime stuff.
Because I think the last novel came out for that was Fire Made Flesh.
Right, okay.
And when did that come out? Not Fire in the Flesh, Fire Made Flesh. Stupid Google. 2021. So it's been 5 years since we actually had a Necromunda book.
Right, okay. Yeah, I've actually got that book, but I still haven't read it, I don't think.
It's a shame because Necromunda's so good. It's such a good setting. It genuinely is.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
Fun enough, there's one of the older Necromunda books, which I highly recommend to everyone rather. Outlander. That's such a good book. It's about a bounty hunter. It's so good.
I'm just going to double check because I think have I read that?
It's the one that on the cover you got the guy in the big trench coat and the gas mask.
Oh, sure. No, I've not. I haven't read that. Matt Keefe. Yeah, I know the one though.
It's such a good book. Same with Back from the Dead as well. That was also a good one. It was a full blown Necromundan zombie apocalypse type story. That was fun. Also, I think it's also the only bit of fiction that actually features Karloff Valois, who was the zombie master from Necromunda.
Sure, yeah, an amazing figure that was back in the day.
One of Nick Cummins' best books as well, I feel. Back from the Dead.
Yeah, very cool. That's very cool. I've not read this one either, so I'm way behind on my Necromunda fiction.
Yeah, these are old Necromunda books. These ones, because Necromunda back in the day, this was during second edition Necromunda, so around 4th, 5th edition 40k, and it was really leaning into some of the more experimental stuff, especially with things like Fleshworks and stuff like that as well. And you can just tell from the cover as well, it's going to lean into something a bit more unusual, because it's not often you actually see someone with bionics, but they're hiding the bionics under synth skin. That's not something generally common in the Imperium. I mean, I know some people do have it, but for an Underhive ganger having it, it's there's something more to this man kind of thing.
Yeah, well, because Necromunda offers the opportunity to do cyberpunk stuff, but through the lens of Warhammer. So there's so much scope there to do really fun stories.
40k meets Blade Runner.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I find it funny that according to Black Library's own website, when he sort the books by oldest release date, and it has status Dead Zone as not the oldest Necromunda book, even though it actually is. I think it's actually the first Necromunda book, because I remember when it came out. I remember being advertised in White Dwarf. It was back when one of the newest 40k books was William King's Space Wolf.
Well, I mean, because that's the very earliest days of Black Library, right? That was when they were just spinning this thing up. And you would get these anthology collections that were testing out, okay, how can we tell proper stories in these settings?
Yeah. It was also back when they had the original Black Library logo as well, if you remember that.
Oh, sure. Yes, I know the one you mean. Yeah.
AKA the cooler logo. I'm sorry.
It's a bit more elaborate.
Yeah, the skeleton holding the bee rather than just a hammer.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, there were a couple of anthology, because you were getting the Realm of Chaos anthology for Warhammer Fantasy, which was fun. There was a 40k one, which was it Tales from the Maelstrom that came out. There's a lot.
That was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, loads of that sort of stuff where it really was just let's throw a load of stuff at the wall. I mean, it was kind of like the early days of the GW books back in the 89, when they were trying to work out, what does this look like? How do you tell stories about Space Marines or Xenos or Hive gangs or whatever it is? And then from that is where you start to build up into your proper book series. I mean, they got so lucky with Dan Abnett was around and writing books for them.
William King.
Yeah, I mean, well, William King did amazing things as well. But like to take it to the next level and to deliver some of the stuff Abnett has done.
Mm. Yeah, I think 40k fiction really found its feet following the introduction of Gaunt's Ghosts. That's where it started really finding its feet.
Because you need those, because those kinds of ongoing series. I mean, I think it's quite telling that a lot of the strongest ongoing series, like the most fondly remembered, date back a long way. Gotrek and Felix, Gaunt's Ghost, Kaif Kane, like those kind of series have got a long legacy, a long heritage, but they are always at the Black Library looking to create new franchises, like new series with strong central characters. You see it with Age of Sigmar, Callus and Toll, looking to sort of build a series of novels around some strong central characters who can then dip into lots of different elements of the setting. It's a very canny way of doing it. And I'm sure, people who are reading way more Black Library novels than I am, there'll be some favorites of the modern era. But you don't hear, I don't think, as much about some of the newer sort of series as you do about the old series, even today.
Yeah. Do you know what I miss? What Black Library used to do? I miss the audio dramas.
Yeah, because that was an interesting time, right? When they were doing dedicated audio, like you say, audio drama, written for audio.
Mm. Yeah, because I think the last one that came out was Broken Saints, because that's coming up as the newest one. And when that came out, 2020, so nearly 6 years.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it goes to show you how they are, even if it doesn't always feel like it, they are always experimenting with stuff and trying new stuff. And then when it doesn't work, or if the sales are not there, they're not afraid to drop stuff and move on.
Oh no, correction, there was an audio drama that did come out later, and that was a horror one called Darkly Dreaming.
And that was just specifically for the audio performance, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That could be interesting. I'm actually interested to see how that turns out. A Warhammer horror audio drama.
Yeah.
I'll post a picture of it on screen for those interested, so you know what to look for if you're curious. Because just looking at this, you know what? I'm intrigued to see how well they can actually pull off a horror audio drama.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, I think Josh Reynolds is a really good writer. I've enjoyed a lot of his stuff.
Me too. You should check out his Cal Jericho stuff as well, if you get a chance.
Yeah, well, I like Cal Jericho as a character, so yeah, I probably should.
Fine enough. When I read through Sinner's Bounty, the one thing that jumped out to me the most was reading that one thing. It's okay, he's listing all the names of characters he's heard of it. Jack Draco. Oh God, no, not that name again. Not the Ian Watson flashbacks. It's the dog with the cupcakes and it's the Vietnam footage spliced over it. It's
So I've not finished reading all of the Ian Watson stories, but I've quite enjoyed what I've read so far, to be fair. It's a very particular flavour of the 40k universe.
Yes.
And very, because it's so early days as well, of course. But I quite like some of what he's doing. There's times when he stumbles into the sort of excess and it gets a bit too weird, but there's some moments that are really cool and very strange sci-fi.
Oh yeah, I agree. I feel, even though I've made plenty of jokes about Ian Watson in the past, I think everyone has, but to be serious for a moment, I feel a lot of the hate towards his stuff is unjustified. It does come across sometimes as writer's barely disguised fetish at times. Let's be honest, it does some of the stuff.
Some of it. Yeah, some absolutely goes too far and leans too far into very specific things he's interested in. I think as a writer,
there is a lot of scatological stuff.
Yes,
in some of his works, in Space Marine, for instance, the one scene where you got the Tzeentchian sorcerer literally eating shit.
Right,
and it's Ian, please no.
But I think some of that is just is experimentation with what are the limits of this setting, because so much of it was unwritten at that time. And I think he was a legit sci-fi author who was brought into this kind of IP world to try and make a bit of sense of it. Obviously, needed reining in a little bit more than he got, I would say.
From
but
what
also,
I've heard,
yeah,
I was going to say, from what I've heard, apparently his original brief was to write it for like young adult, like late teens, early 20s kind of demographic. And it turns out the market was actually for, younger people. It's like, oh, this is a bit too much for them. Okay, so we misjudged our audience kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I think there was a lot of, like, at that early time when they were commissioning those authors, that things did move around. So even David Ferring or David Garnett, who wrote the Conrad novels, the Warhammer Fantasy novels, under the name David Ferring. In an interview I did with him recently, he shared a little bit about that. Like, they changed the targeted age range that he was originally writing for. They aged it down, but they were also like, you have to include, we really would like there to be like a love scene between the two main characters because we want to appeal to adolescent boys and trying to make that. So I think some of the requests were very specific. They were trying to capture a certain audience, a bit of wish fulfillment and a bit of that sort of stuff. And I think it was trial and error. And that's why you get some stuff that's really awesome and has stood the test of time, like the Jack Yeovil novels, Vampire Genevieve and Drachenfels. And then you also get some stuff that's a mixed bag, I would say.
Question, in regards to the Ian Watson novels you're reading, are you reading the digital versions or the physical versions?
So I've got back to the physical first editions that were printed, because I know that they did change stuff, right? They updated things in the later editions.
It's not just that they changed things; they outright deleted certain scenes in the digital versions.
Okay.
Because I about a year or so ago, I did a video on Jack Draco. And I had to go through both the digital and the physical because obviously the digital versions added the new introductory scenes, the new beginning scenes. I can't fucking spell. Speak. Fuck. The new intros. There we go. Intros. New intros. To add context and stuff. Like the first book had an intro from an inquisitorial archivist. The second one had an intro from a tech priest, and the third one had an intro from a farseer. To basically establish context and kind of try to assert this story's place in the current setting. It's this story, I think it's bullshit kind of thing. It's like, someone's talking crap. The tech priest literally found the manuscript behind a toilet. That's not exaggeration. He literally found it behind a toilet, behind a sewage pipe. So...
So really just hammering home the unreliable narrator.
Yeah, exactly. Because there was one scene I remember distinctly being not in the digital version, and that's the scene when they were talking about the onion rings.
Right, okay.
Because an inquisitor was doing a mental interrogation, and it's peeling away the mind like onion rings. It's I think you mean onion layers, Ian, not onion rings. Onion rings are something different. I thought he was very hungry and was writing. It's man, I could go for some onion rings.
Well, this is the 41st millennium, so onion rings might mean something different to them.
That's possible, yep. Oh, God, just remembered. Fuck. Another scene they did crop, shall we say, the sex scene between Draco and Melindy. Yeah, because in the digital version, they got rid of the line where he says, I consecrate you with my unguent. It's God's sake, Ian.
That's one of the most poetic lines in the book. Why are you getting rid of that? Beautiful stuff.
Mainly because I don't want to have someone say, I give you cum shot.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my word.
I might have to bleep
Not quite
that.
as poetic.
Yeah. Suffice to say, I can understand why Games Workshop censored some of this. As someone who has to go through and research and stuff, I would prefer they didn't try and, edit and delete shit constantly, because it makes things very awkward, trying to do quick reference, because obviously when you have a digital book, it's easier just to go, Control F, right, what am I looking for? Whereas if you have a physical, we actually have to go through and read it, scan it with your fingers, where the fuck is it? It's much harder, it's easier to miss.
That pain.
That's why, please don't edit shit out for the digital releases, I'm begging you, because it's just annoying.
Yeah, or at least like make it clear where that has happened.
Yeah. The only exception I feel is that if the original physical version had like a glaring glaring spelling errors, or like you got the name wrong of someone, like right, change it back to the right name. Because funny enough, there was an Iron Hands novel. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Was it Voice of... No, it wasn't Voice of Mars. It was... Oh, God. Iron Medusa. Because the hardback version was so full of like spelling errors and shit like that. Like, I'm generally surprised I actually slipped through editing. Because, like, calling, like, Ferrus Manus, like, Ferrus Phenos and stuff like that, it's like...
Really?
It was really bad, like, the physical version. But thankfully, for the ebook, they did actually fix it. So, for that... So, stuff like that, I'm perfectly fine with, because it's just literally just fixing a mistake. That's fine. But it's like, when you actually deliberately change or cut out sections of a book, that's why I have an issue with.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? Because I agree that one would expect just typo fixing and okay, there's a typesetting issue here and that kind of stuff. That would be okay. Where you cross into an interesting space, and I don't know necessarily where I land on this, is when you make retcons, right? So, and that can be as simple as changing someone's name, like they did in the Draco stories, right, where they changed the squat.
That only actually happened in one short story.
Right, okay.
When he was changed from Grim to Grill. In the actual ebook versions of the novels, he's still Grim the Squat.
Okay, that's good. Have they updated it again the other way, though? Have they restored it?
I don't think they've actually fixed the short story, because I've not actually downloaded the short story as of late, but I know in the actual reprints of the Inquisition War trilogy that the stuff about Grim being changed to Grill, that's not actually present in the actual novels themselves, but it is in one short story, which was in the Deathwing anthology, I believe.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. But then you also get to like bigger retcons where Malekith in Warhammer Fantasy becomes Malarian, right?
Yeah. I think, in fairness, that was actually mainly due to trademark issues.
Potentially. And there may be legitimate reasons to do it, but then you do... so if they go... At the moment, they're republishing some of the classic novels from what were the Time of Legends for the Warhammer Fantasy series. So they've just republished the Nagash one, they republished the Sigmar ones.
Yeah.
And they're doing it with like new Warhammer the Old World livery to sort of make it fit in with the new books. If they want to go back and redo the Malekith novels, do you change the name of the novel now in order to match that? So and you can argue, well, we felt we had to change it because of Marvel and the use of a character name from there. But they've published books with those names for decades and not had any legal trouble. So
I think it might, because going off an example I do know of, it's in regards to like the WWF and the WWE. Back when WWE was known as WWF, they had an agreement with the World Wildlife Fund, like, you can't advertise yourself as the WWF, but they did. So they lost a lawsuit to the World Wildlife Fund and had to change the name to WWE. And like any new releases, like any new DVDs or whatever, or any new footage that featured the old WWF footage, the WWF logo had to be blurred out and mentions of WWF had to be censored. Yeah, it did, yeah. The only exception for a long, long time were the UK DVDs from a publishing company called Silvervision, because they still had the original masters, which they never actually sent back to the WWE. And because they were using the original masters to make the DVDs, that counted as not a republishing, but archival resale, which was still permitted under the terms of the lawsuit. So they could actually sell it as WWF, because it was archival resale rather than republishing. So it depends So it depends, I imagine, if it falls under archival resale or republishing, because I think there's a legal grey area there. But
well, that's interesting.
In regards to the Inquisition War stuff, in regards to people think about Grim Squat being turned to Grill, they do mention about the Squat in one of the new intros, because you have the Inquisitorial Archivist talking about, the Abhumans. Is like, as to the Abhuman, the thread is cut. The Nids paid to their lineage a long time ago. Basically, leaning into the whole, the Nids ate the Squats, kind of thing.
Sure.
which I know that stuff originally came from like the specialist game forums, but that was like the very first book published by Games Workshop themselves to actually like effectively confirm that in a sense. It's like, squat's got eaten. I can't imagine that anyone running around with squat. So this story can't be true. So it's a squat and they got eaten, kind of thing.
It's I've got no problem with that as if you're never going to do squats again, using it to like further the story of the 40k universe. That's actually pretty interesting. I think it's been even more interesting to see how that sort of didn't quite happen with Votan coming in and squat prospectors and things like that in Necromunda. So,
fun enough, they actually did reference it in one of the Votan codices. It was actually the whole squats got eaten by Nids. That was just one league that got eaten by Nids, and basically the Imperial thought that was the entirety of the squat race, essentially. So they did actually tie it in a sense. So, which I think was quite cool.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, that's a nice way to do it. I like that kind of connective tissue.
It's nice when it can consolidate conflicting lore like that. When you consolidate it into something that actually works, it's like, I love that. It's like, that's one thing I really like about Mike Brooks's Alfaris novel, because he basically took all the contradicting origin stories about Alfaris from the Horus Heresy Black Books and somehow managed to weave it all into a cohesive narrative. It could not have been easy, because it was so... These things were so drastically different, yet he made it work. It's like, you know what? Fair fucking play. But I still think Elila Hesperek's novel's shit. But in regards to the Alfaris novel, you did a fantastic job consolidating all these conflicting statements into a cohesive form. So well done.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that is tough. I imagine that's a very tough job.
Oh God, yeah. I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Given the time and given the fact that I'm still coughing like a fucking sailor, I think we should. Is that even a term? I don't know. Swearing like a fuck.
I don't know if it is a term, but it works. I like it.
I'm coughing, sailor man. Anyway, yeah. So I think we should call it there for this episode, given the time. So thank you very much to everyone who tuned in for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much to Jordan Sorcery for joining me this episode.
Oh man, thanks for inviting me in. It's been really fun.
You're welcome, and we'll hopefully have you back at some point, because I want to bring you on for the quiz show one day as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think you'll do well on that one as well. And we also still need to bring Oculus back, because he needs a rematch. He has a rematch clause because he needs a chance to win back the title he technically never lost. He was stripped from it because he never defended the bloody thing. But anyway. So, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories. That's your cue.
And I'm Jordan Sorcery.
And we'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.